Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Well, live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California, we bring you one more edition of a Tuesday version of the Big Biz Show. Mike Costa, Mary Burt Godwin, Greg Todoroff, and the DTQ. Just the DTC, but I didn't get that right. Howie Font, of course, starting our show every day from New York City. Howard is our, well, I don't know, he's a chief stylist for. He makes me and Mike feel bad about our hair. Not Greg though. Greg's got great hair.
Greg has great hair. Not like that though.
Yeah, no,
look at that. That's a Chicago Bears helmet.
Greg, you're a role model of mine in the hair department. Come on now.
It's full black. Name higher, buddy.
Me and Costa barely hang on to the water wagon. What's going on in the markets today? What are you talking about? What other? You made us feel so bad last week about $500 million a day.
Yeah.
For 6,000 years equals what the government spends from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy?
It is. What do you got for us?
Well, I'd like to point out another thing that central banks are doing, if that's all right.
Yes.
Central banks, we are seeing a run-up in gold that is kind of unprecedented. Usually you see gold prices spike when you have a big recession, the 2000, 08.
Because folks think that gold is a hedge against inflation. What's interesting too, but how remember last week when we had a horrible inflation number and the S&P went to a record, gold also rallied. I was talking to David Garofalo last week, our gold sort of guy from GROY, is that a stock symbol?
Yep.
Gold royalty company. And I was saying, you know what? Investors are fleeing to everything to sort of hedge their bets against inflation. It's not just the S&P, it's not just stocks, it's not just real estate, it's gold as well, because there was a little bit of poo-poo going on about if gold is really a hedge against inflation. Well, it turns out it is. So talk about the gold markets for a bit.
Yeah. I think it's also to do with control and, central bank-backed currencies. People don't want their money to be able to be turned off. So you saw a really big spike in central banks buying gold when the sanctions on Russia for Ukraine came in, because China and other central banks were saying, wow, I don't know if I want my money to be able to be turned off by the Fed. That's not great. So you're seeing a lot of transactions happening in that regard. And then, inflation, which is based on our spending. The dollar's worth less, gold's worth more.
But what's interesting about, there's a thing called inflation or recession. Inflation-proof businesses, laundromats, liquor stores, small personal loans. No, that's what the Sopranos did. But you have laundromats and liquor stores, of course, not liquor stores. Liquor stores and bars are recession-proof. Optometry offices, okay, dentist offices are recession-proof. Have you seen how many people start betting money during this time? I predict, and we have a guest coming up for just a second, Adam Wexler with PrizePicks. I predict to you that there's going to be a boom if this inflation is as sticky as it seems to be, because this inflation was supposed to be waning the last quarter of last year, that you're going to see the amount of betting that goes on, and not to mention drinking. Not that the two have anything in common. I'm just saying those recession-proof businesses are going to be ever present. Don't you think, Howie?
That's tried and true. That's a pretty safe bet. I agree, unfortunately.
I think. Did he just say that's a pretty good bet? Did he just say that's a pretty good bet?
Happen this year.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I said that's a pretty good bet. It's a funny thing because you're talking about betting. I'm learning.
You're gone. Come on. Muted. Bye. Keep talking. I do want to talk about our next. So thank you, Howie. I appreciate it. You'll see Howie again tomorrow. Howard Font. Do we have a tagline for you, Devin and Howie, like some we can refer people to, like the Howie and Devin go to hell or on a handbasket? What's it called? Slowmovingtrainwreck.org.
We should call him this century's Duke and Duke.
Duke and Duke. What was your band name yesterday you talked about?
June Has Needs.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Rugby Got Her Pregnant.
Rugby Got Her Pregnant too.
Big good stuff. We're going to talk to our good friend Adam Wexler from PrizePicks coming up. Stand by. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks. If we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
It is the Big Biz Show at the Loft 100 Studios. Hope you guys are having a great day. You are. Yeah, well, yeah. Costa, very, very confident. Our executive producer, Greg Todorov, Sully. And Steve just said to me as we were coming back, he goes, "Nice look, bro." You know, if you don't split a sausage before you cook it and the casing first on the
Is this the analogy?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cooking up sausages.
That's
sausages.
What is it?
Bratwurst.
20 pounds of
brats.
20 pounds of ass stuffed into it.
Bag. That's good. Steve Thiesing's here. Of course, he is Chief Business Officer of Calidi Biotherapeutics. We've had him on a number of times. Very exciting technology regarding brain cancer. It's something, probably the worst cancer you can get at GBM. Glioblastoma. There you go.
Yep.
Their stock symbol CLDI on the NYSE American Exchange. You had a successful career in software. You came to be the CBO of Calidi. Technologically, things are going fantastic for you guys. You're introducing, more and more proof of that every day. Talk about, just give us an overview for the folks that haven't heard you, and then talk about the new stuff, because I heard about something called RT Nova.
Yes. So we have 3 platforms now, and these are all about arming the immune system to kill cancer. That's what our technology does. We use a cell or an enveloping aspect of a cell with RT Nova to deliver what's called an oncolytic virotherapy.
So basically, the medicine goes into a little spaceship that goes inside of you and inserts itself. See? Nailed
no,
it.
No spaceship. Boom, spaceship. You're not in oncology, are you?
No, those are technical terms. So what is the vehicle that you load the payload with, it is sort of a viral payload, which fights the solid tumor cancer? What is that called?
So we use a stem cell in our platforms, which Neuronova for brain cancer, glioblastoma, and also for supernova. So it's a stem cell from a master cell bank that acts like a Trojan horse to carry a virus that's engineered only to attack cancer. It doesn't harm the other cells.
So what we're looking at here with the graphics is the 3 delivery systems, technologies.
Yep.
CLD 101, which you've talked about, CLD 201, and now CLD 400, which is RT Nova. And this is in preclinical right now.
Right.
And the indications, lung cancer, metastatic cancer. We're hoping that it could be an enterprise-wide solution for other cancers. Talk about everything. Maybe the differences real quickly.
Yep. So what you see here in the graphics, the first 2 platforms, Neuronova and Supernova, just from size, they are larger than the one on the far right.
Right.
And that is because those use a stem cell that's then loaded with the OV. And the problem with that approach to go after metastatic cancers, it can't flow through the blood. So those are direct or intratumoral administrations.
So right into the tumor.
to destroy the tumor.
Right into the tumor, to destroy the primary tumor and then educate the immune system to go and kill other cancers of that same type.
So the difference with the RT Nova
is it is it's an engineered human cell membrane. So the gold wrapper around that cell is actually a human cell membrane that's been engineered to wrap around the OV payload.
Again.
And it's powerful because this can be intravenously injected. So it's a true systemic approach, meaning IV administered, and it will get to the tumor. So it flows through the bloodstream to get to the tumor. This is very powerful for a lung cancer. It's also powerful anytime somebody is later stage and their cancers have metastasized. And so you've got like microscopic elements of cancer throughout the body, even before they show up in imaging. This is technology that 2-3 years ago, when we were meeting with companies like Johnson & Johnson and Lilly, they basically said, hey, we like your supernova technology, but if you could somehow do this in an IV, in a systemic, we consider that the holy grail. And so we doubled down, and we, Dr. Antonio Santidrian, our chief scientific officer, and others on our team have made this RT Nova a reality. And in preclinical, and I can show you, I will show you.
Real quickly, what's the hopeful outcome? We're not curing this. We're doing quality of life, or are we curing this?
With RT Nova, this can be a cure.
Okay.
Actually, they all administered at the right point in time can.
So this is just not extending patient life during the process, because if you get diagnosed with GBM, it's a 6-month.
Steve, is this a situation where you get the one IV and then it's just like, all right, boys, go do your thing inside the body, or do you need to keep going to
much like
to replenish, or
Well, in the case of RT Nova, it's preclinical.
Okay.
I mean, we can show you images of mouse data that show where just one administration reduced like a lung cancer, I think nearly 90%. We've got data.
So let's look at that real quick. Yeah.
We administered a treatment, one IV in the tail vein of this mouse, and that particular mouse model had head and neck cancer, lung cancer, and melanoma. And you see off of that one dosing, the tumor growth inhibition for lung 92%, and for the melanoma 87%. So we expect that this can be very powerful to go after metastases. Now, this is simultaneously killing 3 different cancer types in this preclinical model.
So lung cancer, melanoma, and head and neck, said SCC cancer, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. How often in these trials does this translate to human trials?
Well, in the case of this preclinical data, we have now re-engaged with several big pharma companies, meetings next week in San Francisco, and also meetings at the ASCO conference and bio conferences.
Which is the biggest bio conference in the country.
Yep.
Which comes up, and that allows you to talk to not only investors but other scientists and potentially validate even more along the way of your therapies. Where are we at in this case? Give us because you put this stuff out there and we get a million emails on how long, when.
Right.
Could you even hazard a guess? Is this 5 years down the road, or is this 2 years down the road, or is it pretty aggressive?
I would say our hope is to sign a collaboration with a big pharma partner before the end of the year, and this could potentially be in clinical studies about 2 years from now. But this is powerful. This is the holy grail that would negate so many of these other types. Now, I want to say supernova and neuronova, those continue on in clinical trial. We have an update on our clinical trial enrollment at ASCO for neuronova in recurrent GBM. That's happening right now at City of Hope. 7 patients dosed to date out of 12.
And are you even allowed to say how it's going, or is it just too soon to tell?
The fact that we're recruiting for the 4th and final cohort shows that the earlier ones have been solid.
That's right. Sorry,
and these treatments would ideally replace chemotherapy, the need for that.
You know, I think in the case, it depends. I mean, they potentially could, but right now we have to align with standard of care. And so there may be instances, like right now with neuronova, it is in combination. So in newly diagnosed, there are standard of care elements, but we're moving into a multi-dosing strategy that could negate the need for chemo.
Steve, you got about a minute left here today. I want to talk a little bit about your subsidiary in Germany. Is that a valid conversation still? Because that seems like that shows a lot of well, you're doubling down.
Right.
Right. Talk about it.
The subsidiary in Germany is R&D, process development. We have a team of PhDs there. They are the ones that enabled us to manufacture this RT Nova drug, and that just says it all right there. The fact that we're able to create this human cell enveloped OV, oncolytic virotherapy, and to manufacture it in what will be to scale. That's because of our team in Germany.
Steve Thiesing, Chief Business Officer, Calidi Biotherapeutics. CLDI is their stock symbol, CLDI. Of course, you can go to calidibio.com. We'll be seeing more of you. Can't wait to hear what's. Every time you bring, it's like it's moving on really quick.
Yeah.
Makes us feel better.
Like this.
Feel better about our unhealthy lifestyle.
Pretty much.
I don't want to be your patient, but if we are, I'm going to feel better. Steve, tings for coming on.
Yeah.
Yet I'm not going to say any of it because we're the last day on the air. Great to have you on. 115, 16, 17, 50 million TV homes strong every day.
It's
thanks
over
to
115,
BizTV.
thanks to our good friends.
Right? Oh, you know this stuff, don't you?
Bloomberg
Because,
Financiero.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
What's that called again?
Bloomberg Financiero.
You know that we are working with Bloomberg EU coming up here too.
Ooh.
It's like Johnny Carson, EU.
Wow.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
You should have said, ho, ho, ho. I kind of feel like a Bloomberg EU. EU.
We'll put another shrimp on the bobby. Come on.
Why was it because?
Come on.
Was it because
Dumb and Dumber?
No, that was not. It was because Crocodile Dundee was one of the guests on Johnny Carson. How did you get from Johnny Carson and Ed to put another shrimp in the Barbie? Well, Crocodile Dundee was very popular.
No.
Tell me.
In Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey's the limo
Yeah, where were we
driver.
in Dumb and Dumber? We were in Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon. I said,
Right. And then
EU. And then you went over to Shrimp in the Barbie. Your only excuse is, well, Paul something from Crocodile Dundee. By the way, 1984 called. And they
Paul Hogan, by the way.
Paul Hogan. The fact you know that.
Who now looks like this.
Is that because he's dead, or is that through the facial stuff?
Facial stuff. He actually looks like an alligator.
Because when people, when they zoom bodies, they look like that too. So, just, you know where you're going. Can I ask you this?
Yes,
How did you get to Dumb and Dumber?
Because there's a part early in the movie where Jim Carrey...
How did you connect from where we are to Dumb and Dumber?
Because you said EU, and I figured when Jim Carrey, when the woman says, well, I'm going to Austria, and he says, well, put another... So,
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you, okay?
Thanks.
Speaking of Dumb and Dumber, do you remember when they found the suitcase? They're trying to find the last
Samsonite.
He goes, Samsonite. Close. I knew it. Hey, we got an email from one of our viewers about a company called Electrovaya. Electrovaya. They are publicly traded on the stock symbol ELVA. Is that
Yes, sir.
ELVA. We have the CEO. How did you do that?
I'm big, important.
I know.
Yeah.
A very big deal. Raj Dasgupta is his name. He's the CEO. He joins us via Zoom here, and he's going to tell us all about the lithium-ion battery world. Raj, thanks for joining us today. Good to see you.
Hey, Sully. Great to be here. I was enjoying the banter just now.
Did you know what you were getting into when Greg talked you into this interview?
Come on, join us. It'll be fun.
No, it'll be great. It's not your father's
You're going to love it.
It's not your father's business show, but still. Hey, can you talk to us about the difference, because we're in an EV world now, and I'm not necessarily suggesting that you guys are right in the middle of EV, but we keep on hearing about batteries and cycles and lithium-ion and long-term storage and so on and so forth. Can you please sort of unwind all that mystery to the rest of us that are just trying to figure out how the Tesla's going to go more than 80 miles without having a recharge and so on and so forth?
Well,
talk to us about your space.
You know, batteries is a complicated space, and it's sort of like Baskin-Robbins. There are many flavors of lithium-ion batteries, probably as many as Baskin-Robbins has of ice cream.
You get a free one on your birthday is the question.
Some one of ours. Ours are too expensive.
I was just asking. Well, you said Baskin-Robbins there. And daiquiri ice was my favorite when I was 6. Does that tell you where I was headed? Go ahead. Yeah. But so talk about you guys specifically.
So what we have is a technology for our lithium-ion battery, which makes it last about 5 times longer than typical lithium-ion batteries. And by lasting, I mean how long it lives. So you're all familiar with your phone. After 2 years of use, it's that battery is no longer really good, right? You probably get a new phone. Yeah. So that equates to about 700 cycles on the battery, right?
Raj, I got a question. Is that planned obsolescence, or is that just because the thing just dies? I mean, because I believe that Everready, I know it's a different world, could make a 100-year battery. What are they going to sell?
Right.
Is the lithium world and the phone world, is that planned obsolescence, or is that just the way it is?
That's sort of the way it is. Like the high energy density lithium-ion batteries, whether you put them in your phone or in your electric car, can probably do max 1,000. The very best of them will do 2,000 cycles. So that's the full charge, full discharge. That's what you call a cycle. Before it's sort of getting to the level where it's kaput, right? 80% of its starting life. What we make is a battery that does 10,000 cycles.
Jeez.
So
okay, now
much heavier duty cycle with the same sort of performance attributes.
So is that an IP function, or is that just a technology function you figured out, or how did? I mean,
that's the core technology piece, right? So we make a ceramic separator, we make our own electrolytes, and what the end result is, we take standard chemistries and extend the life out of them.
I think what's interesting here is you seem to be at the right place at the right time, but every time I think about this and read about this, don't you think that the EV world and the lithium battery sort of dependence, we didn't have the infrastructure before you started creating the stuff that we could buy? Is that accurate? In other words, I think the retail world, I guess, for lack of a better word, is ahead of you guys. And now you guys are coming to the rescue with, obviously, after, it's like the $100 calculator that we got. We were 8 years old. It's now cost 39 cents. Yeah. It's maybe we put the cart before the horse. Talk to us about the whole industry on that.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like with passenger EVs, which is what we hear about daily in the news, right? There's the infrastructure, there's the question on costs, et cetera. We are, Electrovaya, we're looking at it a little differently. We are focused on the industrial applications, and we're focused on providing the people who buy our batteries a return on investment, lowering their operational cost, improving their efficiency. Where, while we're helping green the world, that is not why they are picking our technology.
Raj,
so
sorry, I cut you off there. Is the ultimate goal smaller, much stronger, or are you beholden to whatever the technology is needed for your batteries as far as size, weight, things like that?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So one objective is to make the battery smaller and lighter so that you can double the range of your car or make it lighter and cheaper. We're working on that. That's where we have something called our solid state battery program. That's still in research and development, but very exciting stuff. And on the other side of things, it's the more industrial applications. So ones where we're looking at powering a robot, which has to work 24 hours a day, or a forklift, which has to operate 24 hours a day, or even a mining vehicle or something like that. That's where that longevity, that 10,000 cycles becomes incredibly important and saves companies money in terms of having to replace batteries every couple of years, or even allows us to electrify things that are really heavy in diesel consumption, which wouldn't go electric otherwise.
Well, first of all, his name is Raj Gupta. He is the CEO of a company called Electrovaya. Their stock symbol ELVA. I want you back on the air with this. I got one last question. Did I read that you guys are the only North American battery company that's break even, including above Tesla? Did I read that correctly?
Well, Tesla's of course making money, but if you look at the battery space in general.
Oh, excluding Tesla. I misread that.
Excluding Tesla,
but you're break even, like you're above everybody else.
We've had 4 back-to-back quarters of EBITDA positive results, making net profits and operating profits. But if you look at the clean tech space in general, they generally hemorrhage cash, and we're very different in that way. We sell our batteries at a higher price. We get probably the highest margins in the battery space, and as a result, we are able to keep our money.
Have you ever heard a CEO talk so frankly about what all we want to hear is, are they keeping their money?
Yeah.
Raj, will you come back on the air with us at some point?
Of course.
I hope you do. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Raj, Das Gupta.
That's what you want to hear at the stockholders meeting,
right?
Das Gupta.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's very plain talking. Yeah. I misread that. The only North American battery company, excluding that's break even. You don't see companies.
It's impressive.
It is impressive. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
Are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
Okay, Michael, do your job.
From the Loft 100 Studios in beautiful Southern California. By the way, home of the chocolate pop rock. We'll explain that in the after hours Big Biz Show. Big Biz Show rolling on. Mike Constant, Greg Todorov, and our man Sully, the nicest, happiest person we've ever met on earth.
I love the tagline for chocolate pop rock. I meant not to laugh. Don't go in there. Okay, hold on.
Says it on top of the jar.
One of my favorite people and one of my favorite companies. We met him through Greg Todorov and Jim Saperstein, who will be on the air with us next week from FWBI. Steve Glover. Steve Glover is the chairman and CEO of Zyversa Therapeutics. ZVSA, lots of interesting stuff going on there. And basically, they've got two proprietary drug platforms we've been talking about here, anti-inflammatory diseases, and of course, we're talking about Alzheimer's. Okay? Doesn't everything start with inflammation? Like, I'm way more inflamed than I was when I was 20. I was less inflamed back then, like overall inflamed.
I think we'd be stunned how inflamed we are at any given point in the day or our lives, and we're just like, oh yeah, I'm sore, or I've got this going on, when it could be something serious.
Have you guys ever had a, what is it called? It's called a Met pack. Like when you're hurt, you have to eat 8 one day, 7 one day, 6. It's a steroid.
Okay.
For like when you hurt your elbow or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And you feel wonderful because there's no inflammation.
Zero.
Your knees are like this, you tap dance, and you're going, hey, let's go.
Right.
You know, I mean, remember that? By the way, inflammatory is what your wife's going to be when you get that AI thing and you're watching football in front of your living room for 17 hours at a time. Steve Glover joins us via Zoom. Steve, how are you, man? We got to get you in studio, bud.
I would love to. So if there's going to be Ovaltine on popcorn, that's a great reason to come to San Diego.
You know what? I have to tell you, that sounds fantastic.
Super good.
Like buttered popcorn, like the movie butter, which is a buttered food stuff.
Just
Sprinkle some. Hey, Steve, can you catch us up about VAR 200 and IC 100 and what's going on in your lives? Because there's lots of stuff happening. I keep on reading press releases, and everybody keeps emailing about you guys. So give us an update.
Sure. No, I appreciate the chance to meet with you guys and kind of give you an update. I think you're talking about inflammation. As you know, we're getting ready to have our chat, and one of the things that happens ever so often, we're studying inflammation with our IC100 compound. Is there was a great article out of Nature Reviews that focused on neurology yesterday, and it was really talking about this issue of low-grade inflammation. And you may not know you have it, but it's impacting you, and things like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease and, traumatic brain injury and different things. And this inability to get rid of this low-grade inflammation is the area that we've been studying. we were really happy to see that article. It was a summarization of about 297 published articles, and it really honed in on this issue of the role of this inflammation, the inflammasomes, these inflammation factories in these diseases. And the really kind of key area here that was really pointed out was you need to inhibit the low-grade inflammation, but you also need to inhibit these inflammasomes and these inflammasome specs. And that really aligns with our strategy and our development here.
Hey,
so
Steve,
really interesting article.
So I've got to ask you something. And this is I always get this. Do you ever get your blood done at C-reactive protein? I was always a little high, Sully, and that's your inflammatory markers and stuff like that. And they can't figure it. I always say, oh, it's because I hurt my thumb on the way in. It's because you have this nascent, low grade, as he said, inflammation in your body. I've done a lot of reading lately about how we as a society have the highest incidence of heart disease and diabetes, and they're blaming it on our food supply. Now, so here's my question. Have you ever taken a look at like what the addressable market is of your inflammatory product, okay, versus what it would have been in, let's say, 1965 or 1960? Is there a bigger addressable market because of the fact that we're just not as healthy these days, or has this always just been sort of a static problem with us as humans?
No, there's no doubt there's a combination of factors here. It definitely is, diet plays a role. Type 2 diabetes plays a real role here as well, which is driven by a whole host of factors. But there's also the fact that we now, as a society, not only have a diet problem and a problem related to diabetes type 2, but we're able to understand this inflammation and the role it plays in these other diseases. So it's a huge market. The area that we're focused on, Sully, is $60 billion of opportunity. And we've got great research so far in these disease areas. So it's a massive problem.
Let's not forget, though, you mentioned on the first time I talked to you, I think, if I'm not mistaken, $60 billion going up to $80 or $90 billion, right? I mean, it's growing.
Yeah, so we've got great data so far on a few of the indications, like Alzheimer's disease and, MS and Parkinson's disease. Those are the areas when I mentioned the $60 billion, it's kind of tied up in those indications. But there's over 70 diseases where these inflammation factors, these inflammasomes, are playing a role, and it's over a $80 billion to $200 billion worldwide problem.
Hey, Steve,
it's a massive problem.
Let's talk about the renal project, the renal program, the product VAR200. Does one lead to another? Because one is about kidney filtration and diabetic kidney disease, and one is about inflammation in terms of higher incidence of those maladies. Do they both tie in together? And was the VAR200 a result of the IC100 or vice versa, or were you working on both at the same time?
I always look for interesting things to study, as I say. People know me, know I'm a bad retired person. So, but with kidney disease, you've got exactly the issue. The kidney disease that we're talking about has an inflammatory component. You were talking about steroid packs. Well, that's the first line of treatment for kidney disease. You get steroids and you get calcineurin inhibitors and you get high blood pressure medications. And the reality is that inflammation is playing a major role in those diseases. And in VAR200, the inflammasome is activated in those diseases as well. So there's definitely a thread of inflammation through both diseases. We're just approaching the kidney disease initially with our other product, which is VAR200, which is getting ready to go into phase 2 trials to see if we can, lower the amount of cholesterol and lipids that are in these diseases, like FSGS, Alports, and diabetic kidney disease. By doing that, we think we can slow the progression of the disease to end-stage dialysis and transplant.
Is there hope that all the damage we did by eating little chocolate donuts and McDonald's and such through our lifestyle and maybe through genetics, that we can sort of reverse some of these things in the years to come, perhaps?
Well, I don't think there's a magic pill, so to speak. So there is a balance to what we need to do. But clearly, I think, being aware of the inflammation-driven diets is important. But that's just not enough. I mean, you can exercise, and some of us this is genetic, but in the end, you need treatments. And,
right.
What we're working on will be a nice toolkit for the doctors. It'll help them to be able to manage the patients and do that. But I think it's like in everything in medicine, you got to manage your own health and work with your physician to make that happen. And our job is just make sure they got the tools to give you something to fight this inflammation and kidney disease with.
Well, you're not going to ever retire because once you decide we're done with that and hit a home run, you're going to come here and help co-host with us.
Yep.
Thank you, buddy. Talk to you next week. His name is Steve Glover. Zyversa. Inflammasome. Do you feel like some mornings you're more,
Without a doubt.
How about you, Rick?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it's always because of what I've eaten the night before.
No, it's not about that.
No, it is. Yes, it is.
It's about, you take too much vitamin T. I've been with you.
Yep. Vitamin tequila.
Yeah, vitamin T.
The tumbler.
Leave my tumbler out of this.
Are you still a?
Keep your hands off.
Are you still a vodka and Hawaiian punch guy, Mike?
So good.
More Biz coming up. Yeah, bye. I can't forget him, baby. No, you don't sound like Elephant Man. Sound like Michael McDonald. I can't forget him, baby. Not her.
Big Biz Show. Little musical trivia for you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Did you put Pancake on?
Did I? Of course. Mrs. Partridge.
Yeah, Shirley Jones.
Yeah.
She was opposite of me in My Fair Lady.
She was in Music Man.
She played Lori in Oklahoma, opposite of
Robert
Russ.
Were you a musical theater major?
No.
Gordon McRae.
What's your favorite
like
musical, Shep?
theater. What's that?
What's your
My
favorite musical?
Wicked.
Oh, good one.
Something has changed with it. I cry like I'm watching a Hallmark commercial. I watch Wicked like 8 times. I mean,
That one makes you cry?
Oh my goodness. I'm like.
The one song that
I'm like
she sings
Wicked,
before I knew
called
you.
Gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because I knew you.
Because I knew you.
Oh, forget it.
Right?
Yep.
Forget about it.
I mean, if you, it's seriously. So, Shep, my question for you is this: do you think that we would all have been better off not having musical theater in guys that like Mike was third baseman, all CIF for Thunder Road High School.
Okay.
And Mike
I
was
will just I'll just tell you that I went to an all boys school and we had musical theater. How weird is that?
That's weird, yeah. Thanks.
You could have done Book of Mormon.
I was going to say, did you?
Hi, it's Shep, Shakespeare in Love, Hyken. Mike, so listen, Shep Hyken, of course, is the Chief Amazement Officer, and he is also the author of several books. One of my favorite guys, he and I met 2017 when a friend of mine says, I want you to learn about the keynote speaking business. And I thought to myself, this guy's going to teach me how to do a keynote speech. They taught me what the business was like, and what you learned was, even you, Mike, could make it. And just here's your message. If you want to be positive, think positive. Thank you. 25 grand for Mike.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all it is.
But honestly, Shep, you took a career and takeaways for big companies and turned it into keynotes. And by the way, he's booked across the country to talk about
across the world.
Okay, my bad. Big. Okay, mister. But he really is one of my favorite people. Can I ask you something? Is customer service, because I believe, I mean, I've done this a million times. You see a good line in a movie? You know? You're my true north. I think that happens in business. Like, I've said a couple of things, like that Jack Nicholson said, to customer service people. I think entertainment plays a role in how we react to each other in life. I think that we steal crap. And the point is, I think our expectations, who would have the expectation in the last 20 years that customer service would be consistent, Shep? Don't you think we get it from entertainment? Because I ain't getting it from real life.
What, do you think entertainment is consistent? I mean, you see one show,
ours certainly isn't, but no, it's true. But I'm saying, though, look.
Present company excluded.
Well, my point is this. There's an expectation, as you have taught me, that there is a seamless customer service experience, which you also gave me, okay, where they're from the front door of the Albertsons to the cashier to the, and by the way, do you put your cart back?
I try to.
If I knew nothing else about you, if you don't put your cart back,
yeah,
you're dead to
me.
Yeah. But the point is, Shep, I'm thinking to myself, it was after our last conversation, I can't remember the last time. And can you imagine you have a 20-year-old, okay, living in this world who's been in part of the economy for the last 10 years?
I've got one.
Has he ever seen what it looks like
to have a valet pull up or have a Nordstrom experience from 1985,
Ugh.
right? Or
There's nothing like that.
Or Eve Arden.
It does not exist
Or Eve Arden Red Door, right? Was that called Eve Arden? I mean, so Shep, how do we change that paradigm?
Well, I know you love the example of pulling up for the valet and they open your door instead of your watch.
I'm like this.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, because in my mind, again, you have the CEOs of the company, the people on top, that think things are going a certain way, and they're not going that way. My point though is, it's got to be part of the fabric again. And how do we do that? Is that just pride? Is that just, pay them more?
Yeah, well, you know what? The easiest thing you talk about the CEO, something like 80% of CEOs think they deliver great service, and then you go out and ask the customers, like only 35% say yes. So there's big change. So you know what we tell CEOs? Go shop your own company, like mystery shop. Call at a busy time, and don't tell them it's you. Don't have a number they can identify, and act like a regular customer. See how long you have to wait, how many times you have to tell a story, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, before you finally either get so frustrated and hang up or realize you're doing it right. One of the two is going to happen.
Hey, Shep, I want to segue into AI customer service because we've talked to you a lot about that. And I was wondering, how much of a jump is it for small businesses or businesses that aren't in there yet? Is it a hard sell for them to say, I don't know if I trust that? Is it expensive? Is it hard to adapt into your business? Or are you promoting that right now? Or do you think that small businesses should go that route?
So there's 7 questions. Which one do you want me to answer first? I'll have AI answer it. Let's stick it all in the chat
If I had a nickel, I will say, one of my favorite people in the world, but hey, Sully, I ask you a question. Go ahead, answer number 3.
I think there's only one there. Should small businesses adapt it?
Short answer is yes, and here's why. Number one, it's less expensive than it's ever been. Literally, for several $100s, you can get set up for a small monthly fee, and you're set up and you're worried about the wrong answers. You can program the computer to understand it can't go anywhere else to get answers but the answers that you give it. So if you've got an instruction manual, operations guide, just drop it in there as a file, and ChatGPT will go in there, or ChatGPT-like technologies will go in there and answer the question. And when the customer says, I don't understand, explain it to me like I'm in 6th grade, it'll come back and explain it exactly the same way, different sign of language, so that the customer can understand it. It'll do it in multiple languages. So all of a sudden you got multilingual customer support. And I'm talking for hundreds, not tens of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars like it used to be 5, 10, 12 years ago.
Shep, I have a question. How much money are companies saving by not having live customer service? Because I'm the king of 0. And of course now they're smart and say, start over again. I mean, are they losing that much money on having a, what do they call that?
Call center?
Yeah, call center.
Yeah. Let's call it a contact center, because the call center is not just about calls, it's chat, where they're typing back and forth. It's on social media where they're interacting. So really it's a contact or a help center. So here's the thing. We surveyed with Capterra, which is a pretty big firm out of with Gartner, and we found that of the companies implementing AI for customer service and experience, 63% are still hiring more people. It's like a low number, around 20% or 22%, something like that. Don't quote me exactly, but it's close, are actually saying, yeah, we're reducing a few people here and there. Think about that. It's not replacing people. It's allowing the easy experience or the easy questions to get answered quickly with AI, and then the people step in and deal with more complicated, difficult questions, and they make customers happy. There is a balance.
I agree.
Companies want to send people to support AI self-service first, but they've got to have a good backup.
I like it when Costa's returning some Levi's moving on jeans back to Gap. He says, I'd like to return these because they don't fit right. And the ChatGPT says, just how big are you?
They were a 32 waist when I bought them.
Just how big are you? Shep, we'll see you next week.
Are you a circus elephant?
Can't wait.
What the hell? Is that your head or your neck bubble?